Thank you for having me, Town Meeting TV, and greetings to my Burlington neighbors and anyone outside of Burlington watching this. My name is Melo Grant. I'm the City Councilor for the Central District of Burlington, which encompasses wards 2 and 3. This is next to some areas in Winooski. We are the most diverse area in the entire state of Vermont. The wards are comprised of the Old North End, the downtown core, the waterfront area, and since redistricting, more of the King Maple area. So it's really a very diverse ward with a wide variety of different types of individuals and families. I represent a lot of people in marginalized groups. I represent a lot of renters, a lot of working families. I represent people who would consider themselves to be middle to upper middle class. We definitely have some wealthy individuals. We also have a large number of students, and we bear the brunt of our homeless crisis as well, and our drug crisis. I'll be talking about that. I will be talking about other issues that I believe are important to not only my constituents, but the people of Burlington. When I first ran for City Council, it was really important to me, especially as the drug crisis was increasing and really affecting the Old North End, the certain types of crime that were affecting the Old North End, increase in packages being stolen, increase in car thefts, and other types of crime. All of this started to move in ways that was not being fully acknowledged by people in City Hall. I, as a police commissioner, interacted a lot with the former mayor, Mayor Weinberger, and the former police chief, John Murad. And I sincerely believe that if we weren't dealing with the area of the city that didn't have a lot of economic power and also wasn't voting Democratic, right? It was this, there wasn't a recognition of the fact that people weren't voting Democratic because the Democratic Party wasn't addressing the issues that we needed help with. So after almost 3 years as a police commissioner, I did run for council because I felt I needed to take the next step to get loud. I mean, sometimes when people said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I'm going to get louder," because literally people were not listening to us. And only did the conversation start to elevate was when our downtown business core was affected, even though other businesses in our district were also being affected. So I want to talk about things that I'm not allowed to expand upon in committees or in council. In committees, you can have more in-depth conversations, but in council, it's really regulated in terms of the times that you're allowed to speak. I get called point of order a lot. I was, as many people know, I was on the Public Safety Committee. I still serve on the Public Safety Committee, but they took the chair position away from me. I was not business-minded enough. A fellow counselor said, "You cannot question police." Woo! That was tough. That was really, really tough. Fellow counselor told a reporter that I was prone to violence. And that still really upsets me. I want to be able to talk about the things that are going on in our city and provide more information. I really don't want it to be all about politics. I want it to be about the truth. And the truth matters no matter how difficult the truth is at times. I want to be able to provide direct links to meetings, direct links to reports and data, links to the mayor's updates, information about the mayor's updates. The rhetoric that's been going on in the city right now would lead people to think that nothing is happening. Do we have problems? Absolutely. Myself, the mayor, and others, and many people working in service agencies and working for mutual aid groups. We have so many volunteers in our community, and thank you so much for the time that you give. We know people are out here trying to work, but we have a situation where we have no leadership from the state. We bear the brunt of the number of people who are homeless who come to our city because we're known for having shelters and we're known for having certain services. We need more towns and other municipalities to do their part, and we need direction from the governor with regards to that. So I'll be talking about that as well, how we can unify as a city, as a council, to really have a strategy, and a strategy with our legislative representatives, right? Our Chittenden delegation isn't fully unified with regards to what we need from the governor, and even though there was definitely an improvement this year, we are still left empty-handed with things like our charter change, like no guns in bars, that continue to languish because they can't get the votes from the other statewide representatives. So there's a lot that goes on, and I am hoping to present some of that information in a way that will help people to understand, help people to get curious, borrowing a slogan from our state's attorney, Sarah George, let's get curious, and just to deal with some stuff that's not okay. Hence the name of the program. Ain't that some shh? Because that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about some stuff that you may not realize. We're going to be talking about some stuff that is very difficult. And quite frankly, ain't that some shh? Because I found myself saying that a lot in my personal life. Want to deal with misinformation, disinformation, people out and out lying at times. We're going to talk about data, and we're going to talk about meeting updates. So today I want to concentrate on information about Burlington Forward. This was presented to the council on August 3rd. I do recommend people watch that meeting. It is a long meeting. We had over 3 hours of public forum. People really came out to talk about why they were supporting it and why they were not supporting it. Just because people are not supporting it doesn't mean they don't care or recognize the problems that we have across our community safety system. And also there are people who talked about how they recognize the different things that were going on, and I will get into that in a minute. I am on record as saying, as I do think it's a political stunt. BTV FWD was something in the last several years that it's had 2 different incarnations to be used to educate people about civics and some other goals, but it was basically a political arm. And now we're just, spelling it out, Burlington Forward. To me, it looks like more of the same. This is a very vague document. I am encouraging people who just heard about it and be like, oh, this is a good idea, actually read it. I think it's important. It is very vague. What specifics do you see other than an acknowledgement of some of the issues? There was no attempt to reach out to stakeholders in the community. That's deeply problematic. That would include social service agencies, mutual aid groups, department heads, city employees. We have city employees doing amazing work. Many of you may have read the article in 7 Days a few months ago about our urban park rangers and how they work with the homeless population that are camping in and around our city. There are many examples of city employees putting themselves forward to help deal with these circumstances of what's happening and of individuals who are homeless and are in crisis and how that's affecting the rest of us. So not to talk to the employees, not to talk to department heads, not to talk to the mayor, not to talk to fellow councilors. Councilor Laura Sanchez Parkinson, she is the Ward 3 councilor. We were sitting a Thursday night in a public safety committee while this document was being emailed and uploaded, and while a press conference had been planned for the following day, and we're literally sitting in a public safety committee meeting and we weren't told anything. That is profoundly disrespectful, and that is not the way you build collaboration. Time and time again, we hear, oh, we're collaborating. We're not collaborating. That's just a myth. So until we collaborate, we can say we're collaborating, but collaboration is not what's happening. It got voted on. We only have 5 votes, progressives, and the vote just sends this document to committees where it should have started. So nothing's happening. Nothing new is happening other than giving people hope in a way that I find to be inappropriate, because we've seen these resolutions before. Remember the resolution that was supposed to clean up City Hall Park by making sure it was closed at midnight, even though there was only about 5% of the incidents that occur in the city overnight actually happened in City Hall Park. The rest happened in other parts of the city. But we said police had to get there and close down the park, which pushes people away from the only public bathroom that's available 24/7, and it just moved the incidents right across the street. The data was very clear. Nothing came of that, but there was much ado made of it. So that's my concern about this. Now, having said that, I will be participating in the process because it is important to participate in the process. The Racial Equity, Inclusion, Belonging Council Subcommittee, REIB for short, we met last night. That, depending on when you watch that date was Tuesday, August 18th. We had a conversation, our first conversation about the document. We had feedback from members of the public. It was a really great conversation. And we put forth a plan. Laura Sanchez-Parkinson is the chair of that committee. We have upcoming meetings. There'll be a special meeting on Tuesday, the 25th of August. We are going to be looking at high-level feedback from the stakeholders that I mentioned earlier. We are going to review a memo process. We're going to have a memo that we want to put together that's going to review the process of bringing this document together, and the equity impacts when developing policy. We're going to be focused on community and strategy and having a real discussion, again, with a health equity lens, and an equity lens, period. And I'll get more into that in a moment. Then we plan to have a counselor discussion at the end of that meeting for the next steps and how we go about with a proposal. There will be another special REIB meeting on September 1st, where we'll be finalizing and improving feedback documents or memos that will be sent to the council on September 14th. The Public Safety Committee is going to have a regularly scheduled meeting on August 27th, which is a Thursday night. And I expect this will be on the schedule. We are going to hold a second meeting on August 31st. And we are holding September 10th for a third possible meeting. I don't understand how the Public Safety Committee doesn't have at least 3 meetings. I am no longer the chair of that committee, so I'm very limited with regards to how I can direct this meeting to move. But I would expect that we should have just as expansive as a conversation, especially when we are going to be talking about things like enforcement, right? That is something that a lot of people are concerned about. What can we enforce? What can't we enforce? And what is legal and what is not legal is also part of the conversation. CD&R is meeting a meeting tonight, which we are filming on August 19th. This is not on their agenda. We really do need all the committees that are going to be looking at this to get their agendas posted immediately on Civic Clerk, which is the area where you can see when meetings are scheduled. You can see the agenda, you can see the related documents, And you can see the recordings of the meetings as well, because not all the meetings are recorded by Town Meeting TV. So you can be on Town Meeting TV's website or YouTube page, and for the meetings that aren't on Town Meeting TV, you can just pull them right on Civic Clerk. Quick detour, how do you get to Civic Clerk? You go to the City of Burlington's website. There is a little circle, a button that says Agenda in the lower left-hand side of the home page. When you click on that, that takes you to a calendar. And on that calendar, you can click on the different days to see the different meetings, click on the meetings, and that gives you the links to the information and the documentation as well as the recordings. I think it's really important for people to be willing to put themselves out there more. I hear the most misinformation and disinformation from people who actually don't watch meetings and don't follow data. There was a Front Porch Forum post. We had a very, very difficult weekend, no question. A lot of things happened all in the same night. And someone posted and said that stabbings and shootings happen every day in Burlington. That is not true. That is not true. I fully acknowledge the difficulties of that one night, but to say that things like that happen every day is simply not true. There are some investigations that are still going on. I mourn the loss of life, as we all should. One of the gunfire incidents was related to someone who fumbled their own firearm. Remember, we live in Vermont. We have very lax gun laws. We have open carry. This individual had a gun and mishandled it and dropped it, and it went off. Of course, there's always the danger of a stray bullet hurting someone. We can't discount that, but this was not during a crime per se. This was not aimed at anyone in particular. This was negligence, but because it involved a firearm, it does count as a gunfire incident. The other incident is under investigation by our police department. Burlington police officers were in the area and on the scene immediately with these incidents. We do have another incident where, regretfully, we have people in our city that harass homeless people and threaten homeless people. So one of the incidents involving a knife, this was not the one where the death occurred, but it sounds like there's something deeper that went on there. With regards to the loss of life, that is still under investigation. So it'll be important to follow those. You can find press releases from the Burlington Police Department online, and I will be asking for updates as more of updates are available. Obviously, officers cannot talk, the department cannot talk about an open investigation because they don't want to compromise that investigation, and that does need to be respected. I want to say about Burlington Forward, the language of it is very, very concerning and has a lot of people concerned. It reads at times like a Trump executive order. And that language is very, very different. And so for some of us that are going to be reviewing it and for members of the public that have already spoken out, the language that's used is of grave concern. It's just throwing out all these kind of right-wing platitudes that aren't fully reflective of what our problems are or how to solve them. We should not have a document that constantly equates homelessness with crimes. It is not illegal to be homeless. Do we have individuals that are homeless that commit crime? Yes, that is true. In fact, Interim Chief Burke, in his examination of the data, looking at it in a different way, saying we're seeing the same people over and over and over again. Let's really deep dive these individuals. So at one point we had a meeting where he presented, okay, here are the top 21 individuals. It was done anonymously, of course. These are the number of open incidents that they have. It was huge. And we're like, what's causing that? Well, 19 of the 21 were homeless. So that is a problem. This idea of catch and release, a lot of people criticize our state's attorney, Sarah George, catch and release. There is no such thing. If you are released on conditions and you violate those conditions, then you get another case. That's one of the reasons why so many of these individuals had high number of open dockets, especially for trespass. Trespass is a tool. People violate their trespass, then they get another trespass, and that leads to these open cases, but they don't get held for such low-level crimes, and that is another issue that we have to contend with that I want to deeper dive. I'm hoping to have, I will be extending an invitation to Sarah George to come in and talk to us about the level of crimes, what the Vermont statutes say. People accuse our state's attorney of making up progressive laws. There are no progressive laws, right? There are just the laws of the state of Vermont that we have to operate under. And in the state of Vermont, we did not keep up with all the changes that went on after the COVID pandemic. We are under siege with fentanyl, and fentanyl is everywhere. It's everywhere. It's not just in Burlington, it's everywhere. I recently shared a Reddit post that it came from Portland, Maine. They are literally having the same issues. And Portland, Maine is in a lot of ways very similar to Burlington. I have personally seen those issues. I like to go to Portland periodically, spend a couple of days, maybe see a show. I have personally been into areas of their downtown where I see the exact same thing. Harm reduction. People are saying we have too much harm reduction. First and foremost, harm reduction is for everyone. It's for people who are in crisis, and it is for all the residents in our city, because harm reduction is meant to make things better. I want to be absolutely clear about something. There is not too much harm reduction. There is not enough. The city does not have enough money, period, full stop. Social service agencies do not have enough money, period, full stop. Their people don't get paid as well as, say, police officers, period, full stop. It takes 9 months to get a housing advocate. If you're homeless and you need someone who acts as a housing advocate, housing manager to help you navigate the system, that waiting period now is up to 9 months. Ain't that some So we don't have beds. When we start talking about involuntarily committing people, which I'm not going to deny may be appropriate for some individuals, but how are we going to start talking about that when we don't even have recovery on demand now, where in the last weeks we have further reduced mental health beds? Where's the Department of Mental Health and what they need to be doing, right? The state's attorney has talked about that as a failure on their part. If someone is not fit to stand trial, they can only be held for something up to 21 days, but I will get that information from the state's attorney so that we are exact about it. But there's all these other things going on in the background that the average person doesn't realize. We have a shortage of true affordable housing. We have a shortage of wraparound services. We have a shortage of sober living situations. Someone goes to jail because of issues around substance use disorder. They come out, if they don't have support, what's going to happen? These patterns repeat themselves because we don't have enough resources. So again, we need a statewide strategy. We need all the representation from local to federal level to be applying pressure. The federal level, cutting back housing vouchers out of nowhere is destabilizing people. It's gravely concerning. We will, when we look at the lack of capacity, CVOEO has the resources to open a 100-bed shelter. A 100-bed shelter would be so impactful, but where can it be? This is what we talk about when we need help from the state. You can't tell me Governor Scott can't pick up the phone and find a location for this shelter, be it in Burlington or be it somewhere else in Chittenden County, where we can help some of these people. So these are the things that are kind of like a backlog or blocking what we need. We need to increase our capacity. We need to help more families with children. The numbers, it's like 600 children are part of our homeless count in our state. That's very, it's deeply, deeply concerning. I think I will leave it there for our first program. Ain't that some shh? There's going to be a lot to talk about. I really look forward to having a number of guests, fellow counselors, department heads, mutual aid groups. The cleanup crew is a mutual aid group. They are a social services that are unpermitted, right, as are referred to in this resolution. They not only clean, they leave sharps containers and education about recovery. We want to lit their work. So these are the things I really want people to think about. Please feel free to email me, megrant@burlingtonvt.gov. That's megrant@burlingtonvt.gov. In the past, I've mainly used my website as a campaign website. I am actually going to be refreshing it and adding a lot of direct links so that you will be able to go to melogrant.com and just click on the links of the things that we're talking to, and it'll take you straight to the documents, to the meetings, so you don't have to search on the website, because that can be it can be confusing and especially time consuming. Adopt a meeting, adopt a committee meeting, even if you can't watch all of it, but just try to be more engaged and involved. And that is ultimately the goal of this program. Ain't that some shh? So that we're getting more engaged, involved, and informed. Thank you so much.